top of the hour, and we are coming on the air with new dramatic details from the January 6th committee. Their last-minute move to subpoena former President Trump about what he was doing leading up to and during the attack, and also never-before-seen video from inside the Capitol. Plus, families of people killed in the Parkland school shooting in Florida are saying the jury failed them today after they spared the shooter's life by giving him a life sentence instead. What this decision means for the families coming up. And a new report telling us what we're all feeling. Everything is more expensive, from plane tickets to food to rent. So what's the Fed going to do now? We're going to get into that. And as housing gets more expensive, we take a look at a ritzy California town fighting to keep a power plant from being turned into hundreds of affordable housing units. That's in our original. Plus, CDC Director Rochelle Walensky tells us she is very worried about vaccine fatigue as doctors sound the alarm about a potential severe flu season and a twindemic this coming winter. Hey there, I'm Tom Costello in for Hallie, and tonight the January 6th committee wrapped up what could be its final investigative hearing by voting unanimously to subpoena former President Donald Trump. Now, there was a lot of that happened during this 2-hour hearing. We're going to break it all down, and we have three big takeaways right now. Number one, what happens next for the former president? The January 6th committee putting this historic move to subpoena the president on the public record. And the caveat is important here, that multiple members have said how difficult or probably even unlikely it will be for former President Trump to actually comply. But it's something the committee has been considering for a while. Chairman Benny Thompson says the move is a serious and extraordinary answer.
This is a question about accountability to the American people. He must be accountable.
Okay, our second big takeaway. Over the course of the hearing, we heard the committee talk about and show evidence of how former President Trump had a, quote, premeditated plan to declare his victory on election night.
This big lie, President Trump's effort to convince Americans that he had won the 2020 election, began before the election results even came in.
And according to testimony from former U.S. AG Bill Barr, he and the deputy AG told Mr. Trump some of his specific claims about voting machines and vote counting, they were all wrong. But that did not make a difference.
There was never an indication of interest in what the actual facts were.
No interest in the facts. Number three on the takeaway list, we watched a never-before-seen dramatic video of lawmakers inside the Capitol that day. Speaker Pelosi, surrounded by other congressional leaders from both parties, scrambling to get help from the Trump administration as rioters were breaking into the Capitol.
They're breaking windows and going in, obviously ransacking our offices and all the rest of that. That's nothing. The concern we have about personal safety is it just transcends everything.
Pelosi and Schumer on the phone with the White House. So let's go to NBC's Hallie Vitale. She's on Capitol Hill. Hallie, the big three headline, or let's start with the big headline right now, the subpoena. Why do this now, and do we think it's really going to happen?
Yeah, it looks like it is likely going to happen. Our sources tell us that they will send that subpoena in the coming days, that it is for both documents and an actual testimony from the former president. But this is something that the committee has been talking through for months. And when I've talked to committee members about it in the past, they have said that even as they entertain the idea of subpoenas for Pence, which that is still something that's on the table and being discussed, and as they consider whether or not to issue a subpoena for Trump, they're aware that they're talking about two very different guys here. Pence has said if subpoenaed, he'd likely come before the committee. Trump, even in the statement that we got today, just bashing Democrats and the committee, which, by the way, is still bipartisan. And so they're not very confident that they're going to get the former president here. But when I talked to committee members after, it's clear that they felt that they had laid out enough evidence, especially today, where the focus was so clearly on the intent and the mindset of the former president, that this was a move that they felt compelled to make.
So a lot of the focus here has been on the former president, his state of mind, his motivations. The committee's warning to everybody watching, the country's democracy, they think, is at stake, right?
Right, because what they argued here, that while they were focused on Trump himself, is that this is a threat that persists far beyond Trump. The fact that you have hundreds of election deniers running up and down the ballot across the country for key positions in Congress, sure, and governor, yes, but also for key Secretary of State positions, the people who are in charge of doing elections. This is something that the committee has tried to hammer home in the past, and that they hammered home in a very specific way, using January 6th as a jumping off point, but as a sign that things could go differently next time around if this system itself is not shored up. Listen.
Our institutions only hold when men and women of good faith make them hold, regardless of the political cost. We have no guarantee that these men and women will be in place next time.
And look, it struck me, Tom, the fact that in addition to Cheney saying that and them talking about the fact that Republican witnesses are most of the people who have driven the news for this committee, at the same time, you watch that video of Schumer and Pelosi, and it's hard not to have that indelible image of the idea that maybe this country was held together and the Capitol had help coming to it more quickly by the sheer grace of Chuck Schumer's flip phone. That is an indelible image, I think, coming out of this hearing that people won't be soon to forget. And it's a reminder that at each point in this process, it was the people, not the processes, that saved democracy.
Yeah, these clearly were not tourists, as evidenced by the video we're running. Another key moment of this really focused on the Secret Service, right? The committee got more than 1 million pages of documents from them recently. So what did we learn?
Yeah, things like radio transmissions, Microsoft Teams messages, and tips like this one that Adam Schiff read out. Listen.
They think that they will have a large enough group to march into D.C. armed, the source reported, and will outnumber the police so they can't be stopped. Their plan is to literally kill people.
And look, this is from just a few weeks before the January 6th attack, December 26th in the evening. That's what they show there, the fact that the Secret Service knew a lot leading up to January 6th.
Their plan is to kill people. All right, what's next for the committee? When will we hear from them next? What happens next?
Well, look, this is like the final hearing with an asterisk on it, Tom, because it is the last time that we're going to hear from the committee in this fashion, the last investigative hearing. But at the same time, we do expect for them to present their final report at some time in December. That's going to be the full culmination of their work. It's going to be published in similar fashion to the 9/11 Commission report, something that will stand the test of time. And we expect that we'll see them again, but certainly not before Election Day. At least that's not our expectation.
Hallie, as always, on the job on Capitol Hill. Hallie, thank you very much. The Supreme Court just a few hours ago rejected Donald Trump's emergency request to get involved in the legal fight over the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago. The Trump team asked the High Court to allow a special master to review the documents marked classified that were taken in the August 8th search of Trump's property. Ken Delanian covers the Justice Department. He joins me now. Ken, this decision by the Supreme Court comes after the Department of Justice weighed in on Tuesday. Bring us up to speed on that.
That's right. This was a resounding defeat, Tom, for Donald Trump and his lawyers. Not unexpected, something many legal experts predicted, but nonetheless, not a single Supreme Court justice found any reason to dissent from this decision that the Supreme Court was denying Donald Trump's appeal here. And so they're letting stand a decision by the 11th Circuit, the appeals court, including by two Trump-appointed judges on that court, that the classified documents seized at Mar-a-Lago have no business being reviewed by a special master, and that the FBI should be able to use those documents in their investigation. So that's the status quo. Meanwhile, Tom, separately, the Justice Department is appealing the entire special master process to the 11th Circuit, and they've asked for emergency consideration. So that's going down the track. If the appeals court rules in their favor, the special master will go away. But again, all this is a little bit of a sideshow to the real meat of the investigation, which is the FBI interviewing witnesses, trying to find out what happened to those highly sensitive documents at Mar-a-Lago, and even more importantly, whether Donald Trump or anyone around him obstructed justice once they had a grand jury subpoena asking for classified documents. Did they try to hide any of those documents?
The fact that every Supreme Court justice said no, I think, is compelling. Ken, thank you. Ken Delinian in Washington for us. All right, turning now to the economy, and chances are you took notice today. Stocks, boy, did they have a comeback. After the highly anticipated report we got earlier, the Consumer Price Index telling us inflation keeps getting worse, but you know that already, don't you? Somehow the Dow's closing up. Look at that, over 800 points. The S&P and the NASDAQ were also higher, and it's coming after the Labor Department said the prices that we're all paying were up 8.2% in September compared to last year. Now, clear numbers to something you probably have already noticed and you see every day. Almost everything is way more expensive right now. If you're headed to the grocery store, milk, 15% more than it was last year. Chicken, 17% more. Eggs, 30% higher. And for someone like Cheryl Holden, these high prices have her worried about the holidays that are coming up.
If things keep going the way that they are, there won't be much of a Christmas here. Until I find a part-time job, I don't even want to think about the holidays.
Now, keep in mind, prices are way up, despite the fact that the Fed's been hiking interest rates to bring them down. Instead, these higher rates have just made mortgages, credit cards, loans more expensive, squeezing consumers from both sides. And it's all putting pressure, of course, on the Biden administration. This is the last look at inflation before the midterm elections. Brian Chung joins me now to break down some of this. Brian, let's start with the stock market. I got to tell you, I had whiplash today, right? We were down 500 points on the Dow right after the CPI numbers came out, and then it soared up 800 points or more by the close. Do we have an understanding of why it bounced up?
Tom, when the Bulls and the Bears wrestle, it's tough to tell what direction they're going to go in. As you mentioned, stock market opened today after the inflation numbers came out at 8:30, down almost 500 points on the Dow Jones. And where did we end? Up over 800 points, ripping higher 2.8% to close the day. Keep in mind, though, year to date, the S&P 500 is down 23%. The Dow is down 17%. Investors have been wondering, when are we going to get peak inflation? That's the reason why markets were so jittery in response to this report. But it seems like markets on both sides trying to figure out whether or not the inflation story is going to get worse or better from here. Yeah. And the seesaw reflected in the market action today. Yeah,
I talked to some Wall Streeters today, and they said, you know what, maybe the whole thing was just oversold and it was trying to buy on the dip. Time to buy on the dip, but who knows? All right, let's talk about this inflation report. Let's break down what this means for everybody out there and why higher interest rates have not been able to bring inflation down yet, at least that we know of.
Well, some of that could be the time lag factor. The Fed has made it clear that, yeah, they're raising interest rates, but at the same time, those may not bite for another 6 to 12 months. But look, let's unpack the numbers that we got this morning from the Consumer Price Index. This is one of the most major reads on inflation. Again, coming in 8.2% higher September of this year compared to September of last year. If you measure it month over month, prices were higher by 0.4%. The individual categories that got more expensive, Tom, you already talked about food prices. In addition to just food and, poultry, for example, those types of categories. Interesting to see that vegetables got more expensive. That was a reason behind that. Shelter, rent got a lot more expensive. Mm-hmm. This is the kind of impact of the pandemic deals expiring and people having their rent raised by $500 to $1,000 in some cases. Higher mortgage costs also factoring in there, but energy getting a little bit cheaper, perhaps a little bit of reprieve in the month of September.
Yeah, but that was before OPEC cut oil, and so, we've already seen it jumping at the pump. Gas prices up again already in October. Listen, it seems pretty certain the Fed is going to hike rates again. We're talking about 0.75 of a point rate hike again. Any sense of when this will have an effect, if it will have an effect?
Yeah, well, again, Fed officials have said that there is a time lag aspect to all this, that the punch of it won't be felt for a few months. But look, they've made it clear the rate hikes will continue until morale improves. Inflation not improved yet. That means likely another 0.75 percentage point increase in their next meeting in the first week of November. That, by the way, if they do follow through on that, would be the 4th consecutive rate hike of that magnitude, Tom.
Yeah, we should make the point. The Fed's target rate for inflation is 2%. We're at 8.2%. 6% or so, 8.2% right now. So we are well above what they want to be at. Brian, nice job. Thank you, Brian Chung. All right, another big announcement today from the Social Security Administration. It says that the average person on Social Security will be getting an extra $140 a month starting next January. So that matters for your parents or other relatives who might benefit from that right now. It also matters for everybody paying into it, with the chances of reserves being there in the next 10 plus years seemingly more slim. And this extra money is not coming out of the blue. It's based on what we just talked about, right? The fact that inflation is so high and older Americans tend to be hit harder by inflation than the rest of the population. They are, we should make the point, a major voting bloc. One recent poll found that 94% of women over 50 plan to vote in the midterms next month. And while the women surveyed varied when it came to their political views, one thing they could all agree on is how important Social Security is to them. Josh Letterman joins me now to talk about all this, and it's a political issue. President Biden vowed to protect Social Security. So how much is the White House seeing today's announcement as a win going into the midterms? He made the announcement himself.
Yeah, it's certainly something the White House wants to talk about, Tom. And we should point out, it's not like President Biden is giving senior citizens a raise in their Social Security. As you just pointed out, this is prescribed by law. It's all pegged to the inflation rate through a predetermined formula. But it does speak directly to the contrast that President Biden and Democrats are trying to draw on the economy right ahead of the midterms with Republicans, with President Biden trying to tout these Republican plans that we've seen from Rick Scott and other Republicans that would force annual votes on the funding for Social Security. Democrats trying to show that they are the protectors of those critical social safety nets, including the Social Security program that will be getting this increase. Take a listen to what President Biden had to say about this increase as he spoke earlier today in California.
Seniors are going to have inflation next year. For the first time in 10 years, their Social Security checks will go up while their Medicare premiums go down. Voters have to decide. Democrats are working to bring down the cost of things and to talk about around the kitchen table, from prescription drugs to health insurance to energy bills and so much more.
And Tom, these economic wins are the ones that the Biden White House can emphasize, can talk about when it comes to the economy on the campaign trail, just as they realize that the main economic factor on everybody's minds is the higher cost. That is something they are trying to thread that needle by making the case to people that they get how these higher costs are directly impacting people, that they don't think the job has been done there, while also trying to defend what they see as a very positive economic record with record high unemployment being so low and so many Americans getting back to work, Tom.
Yeah, unemployment at a 50-year low. It's a head-scratcher of an economy. You know, $140 will help, but listen, is it really going to go that far given how expensive everything is? This might not be enough to cover the impact of inflation, right?
Certainly not. And certainly it won't be for many senior citizens who are already trying to just make up the ground that they have lost over the recent years. Last year, we saw more older Americans slipping below the poverty line, which means even with this increase, they will still be struggling to afford a lot of basics. That's why the administration says they have a lot more work to do on that front as well.
Josh, thank you. Josh Letterman in Washington. Families of the victims of the Parkland shooting say the jury in that trial failed them today after the shooter was sentenced to life in prison without parole. They say, the families say, 17 families did not get justice. Take a listen.
I am so beyond disappointed and frustrated with this outcome. I do not understand. I just don't understand this.
You set a precedent today. You set a precedent for the next mass killing, and nothing happens to you. You'll get life in jail.
Pressing the barrel of his weapon to my daughter's chest. That doesn't outweigh that poor little, what's his name, had a tough upbringing.
All right, you see them here in the moments the verdict was being read, some teary-eyed, shaking their heads, sighing. The decision to recommend a life sentence came from a 12-person jury after starting deliberations just yesterday. It comes after months of hearing emotional firsthand accounts of that horrifying day from teachers and students who watched others die. Jurors even visited the site of the massacre back in August, where nothing changed, at least has changed from that deadly day, other than removing the victims' bodies. Nicholas Cruz pleaded guilty last October to killing 14 students and 3 staff members back on Valentine's Day 2018 in what is one of the country's deadliest school shootings. Kerry Sanders joins me now. He's down in Florida. Kerry, under Florida law, the jury had to come to a unanimous decision on at least one count to recommend a death sentence. So what led to this decision?
It appears that there was one of the 12 jurors who had decided that they could not agree with the others for a death sentence. And giving us a little bit more information about that is this note that was written by one of the jurors to the judge that is now part of the public record. And it says, in short, I would like to notify you that one of the jurors in this case, heard jurors who voted for the death penalty stating that I had already made up my mind on voting for life before the trial started. This allegation is untrue, and I maintained my oath to the court that I would be fair and unbiased. The deliberations were tense, and some jurors became extremely unhappy once I mentioned that I would vote for life. I just wanted to make you aware of this matter. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me. And then she signs it, Denise Cunha. So there you hear from one of the jurors, and we believe it is the only juror who, in the group of 12, decided that she would go for a life sentence rather than a death sentence. And as you can imagine, for the families of the 17 who were murdered that day, plus 17 others who were shot and attempted murder, and all the other people who were victimized, there was a lot of expectation here that it would go a different direction, that there would be a death sentence.
Yeah, Kerry, you and I have talked about this before. You're from that area. I'm from Littleton, Colorado. I grew up on South Columbine Way. I find that there is very rarely closure for families involved in these kinds of tragedies. Nothing ever takes away the horror and the pain that they have experienced. And today, many are just devastated and angry, right? So what's next for them?
Well, the closure is a word that they will not use because there is no closure. This never ends. They did expect that this would be an exclamation point, at least on the trial part of this. This was a sentencing trial. To understand now, Nicholas Cruz, the gunman, had already pled guilty. The only reason that we had almost 4 months of excruciating detail with autopsy photos, with videos, with all the sorts of things that the family members had to listen to, and many of them said they learned things that they maybe did not want to know about the heinous nature of all of this. The only reason this happened was because they agreed with the prosecutor that they should go forward with an attempt to get a death sentence. Otherwise, they could have, once he just said, I'm guilty, it could have been life in prison and they would have been done. So as you listen to the anger and the shock from some of those family members, you'll understand what they've been through.
The moms that I saw in the courtroom, they are suffering, and this result made them suffer even more.
No excuse for letting this piece of garbage breathe.
President Biden, it's been 4 years and I've listened to countless shootings.
Tom, it's just so troubling to hear because of what these families expected. They all believed, after listening themselves to this, that the jury could come to only one conclusion on the sentencing.
And these families now have the chance to speak again in court about what they think the verdict should have been, right? So despite the fact that they've now recommended life in prison. So the sentencing hearing, that comes up on November 1st. Can you walk us through that?
It may be a catharsis for the family members to be able to speak on the record to the court, much the way they spoke to reporters today. But in Florida, the judge, by the new standard, must actually follow the jury recommendation. There was a time in Florida where the judge could ignore the jury recommendation. That no longer is possible. And so this is effectively set in stone, Tom.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Kerry Sanders on the ground in Florida for us. Let's turn now to violence overseas. Iran's president is blaming the United States again for destabilizing the region amid protests in Iran, calling the unrest a Western plot without any evidence, of course. The nationwide protests have been going on for nearly a month, with parts of Iran starting to look like a battle zone. Activists are telling workers and businesses to join in. Even oil and energy workers are staging their own strikes now. What initially sparked the protests, of course, was the death of a 22-year-old who died in police custody for her inappropriate attire. Those are the words from the Iranian authorities. As part of the protests, girls and women of all ages have removed their mandatory headscarves or hijabs. It's one of the greatest challenges to the Islamic Republic in more than 40 years. Coming up, 2 police officers are dead. Another one is injured after responding to a 911 call that officials now say was meant to lure them there. The latest on that investigation. Plus, Netflix with ads. It's almost here. How soon you could get it. Ads on Netflix and how much it might cost you after the break. Coming up on the bottom of the hour, and the FDA says there is a nationwide Adderall shortage. We're going to get into that and what's behind it and what to do if you need that in just a few minutes. First, though, flags in Connecticut are at half staff today for 2 police officers who detectives say were ambushed, shot, and killed. Authorities say the policemen were called to a home in Bristol late last night for some type of domestic dispute between 2 brothers. But when police arrived on the scene, a suspect started shooting at them. One officer was killed at the scene. Another died at the hospital. A 3rd officer is recovering. NBC's Ron Allen is in Bristol. Gosh, Ron, this is awful. What do we know about how this all took place?
It is really shocking, Tom, and as the police chief put it, it's senseless. We thought initially that this was a domestic dispute of some sort that the police were called to at about 10:30 last night that ended up in a shooting of some sort. Turns out it was an ambush. It was a trap. There was apparently an incident earlier in the day that the suspect was involved in at a business where he was disruptive and he was tossed out. Police officer arrived and gave him some kind of a summons. Then later, according to the police, the suspect returned to his home, made a fake 911 call to lure the police to his home. And as soon as the officers arrived, opened their door to get out, he was there, armed with an AR-15 assault rifle, and opened fire on them. One officer died at the scene. The other was taken to the hospital and died later. The 3rd officer was seriously wounded and was in surgery. We learned late today that he is recovered enough so that he has left the hospital. That's one bit of good news that's happened here today on a very tragic day. But why this happened, why this gunman opened fire is just really unknown. This is a relatively typical suburban mixed-use neighborhood here, and residents are absolutely shocked. What happened, there was a barrage of gunfire. One witness said, described hearing 12 rounds, then a pause, and then 12 rounds, which is what you hear automatic weapons fire. Why this man, the suspect, opened fire at this particular time, what was happening between him and the police officers is unknown. And it just seems amazing. The residents here are shocked that this could happen. Police are assuring everyone that this was a limited, focused incident, that the community is safe. But why this happened is just a mystery, and people here are very angry and upset and grieving for these officers.
And I'm sorry, Ron, if you mentioned at the update on the suspect, is he in custody or still missing?
The suspect was killed. His brother, who was also here, was wounded. He is at a local hospital. We don't know anything about his condition, how serious he was wounded, whether there will be charges pressed against that one surviving individual. It's unclear what was going on between the 2 of them. Okay. But the gunman was killed, and it's unclear whether it was a self-inflicted wound or whether the police killed him as well. That's unclear. Okay. But again, today, Tom, the focus is really on the officers. Town just devastated that this would happen here.
Focus should be on the officers. Thank you, Ron. Ron Allen. Let's get you over now to the 5 things, our team things that you should know about tonight. Number 1, actor Cuba Gooding Jr. will not face jail time in his foreseeable touching case. We'll start that again. Forcible touching case. In April, he pleaded guilty to forcibly kissing a worker at a New York nightclub 4 years ago. But today, prosecutors let him withdraw that plea and plead guilty at a lower charge because he stayed out of trouble and completed his counseling. Some of his other accusers, though, are moving forward with civil litigation. Number 2, new details are out on Netflix's ad-supported plan. It's a basic with ads plan, and it's going to cost $6.99 a month with up to 4 or 5 minutes of ads per hour. Oh, no. The company says it won't allow advertisers and advertisements about politics, policy, smoking, or guns. It's going to come out November 3rd. All right, number 3, flights and coffee. Can you name a better duo than that? Well, Delta Airlines and Starbucks are teaming up. Their rewards programs are going to be linked, so you earn 1 mile for every $1 spent at Starbucks. I'm going to be flying free. And on days when you have a Delta flight, you earn double stars at participating Starbucks. You can go online now and link up your accounts. Number 4, ACT test scores have dropped to their lowest levels in over 30 years. The average composite score for the class of 2022 was 19.8 out of 36 on the ACT. It was the 5th year in a row that scores declined. The ACT says more than 40% of high school seniors did not meet any of the college readiness benchmarks. The test CEO says these numbers are, quote, alarming and not just a byproduct of the pandemic. Number 5, the person who took this photo has been named the Wildlife Photographer of the Year. Look at that. And this is Corrine Ainer. She captured this ball of cactus bees competing to mate on a ranch in Texas. Kind of a private moment, but she got great shots. She's the 5th woman to win this award in almost 6 decades. An exhibit of all of the recognized photos opening tomorrow at the Natural History Museum in London. All right, the Food and Drug Administration has declared a nationwide shortage of Adderall. Makers of the drug are having trouble meeting demand for the medication due to manufacturing delays and a surge in demand. Prescriptions for Adderall surged during the pandemic, up 16% between 2019 and 21, and an increase in telehealth companies made it easier to get a prescription for the drug. So let's quickly now talk to Dr. Ashke Sayal, who joins us to talk about all of this and explain it. What is the biggest concern, doctor, about an Adderall shortage right now?
Well, good evening, Tom. I think there's a couple things to point out. The first is that we have patients who've been on Adderall for 10, 12 years, and all of a sudden, if they're faced with not being able to refill their prescriptions, these are people who've come to rely on this and who need this drug to function. So that's a big concern. And the other concern is that if they don't get this drug, are they going to go to other means to get it? And by that, I mean black market. You were a little bit concerned about those as well. So those 2 things in particular are really what we're watching for.
All right. So what should people do if they take Adderall and now they can't get any? What's the best option?
So, I talked to some people about this, and there's a couple things. The first is, if you are somebody who takes Adderall, there are ways you can play with the doses to make sure you're still getting treated. So, for example, if you are somebody who gets 15 milligrams a day, instead of getting that as a 10 and a 5, maybe you get that as 3 5s, depending on what's in stock. And, the other thing is, if you're still having trouble getting those prescriptions, talk to your doctor. There are other medications out there for ADHD. Vyvanse is one. Ritalin is another. So there are other options you can try in addition to Adderall.
Are people going to have withdrawal symptoms if they simply don't have any? I mean, what happens if you took your last pill and there's no more?
So Adderall lasts in your system about a day or 2, and then after that, if you stop taking it, you can have withdrawal symptoms, irritability, fatigue, sometimes even depression. The good news is these aren't things that are necessarily lethal, and so if you can manage those symptoms, you'll be okay in the short term.
All right, doctor, thank you very much. Dr. Akshay Sayal, who's joining us. When we come back, a new poll's showing Republican Senator Ron Johnson's lead over his Democratic opponent, Mandela Barnes, is getting bigger. We're going to get into how high the stakes are for both of them ahead of their final debate. That's tonight, so stay with us. Hundreds of kids have called out sick from a school in San Diego, and it's not COVID, what health officials think is going on later in the local. First, though, to Wisconsin, where a second and final Senate debate is set for tonight, just as the dynamics of the race are shifting. A new poll from Marquette University today shows Republican Senator Ron Johnson with a 6-point lead over Democratic Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. Keep in mind, Democrats see this Wisconsin race as crucial to securing their Senate majority. Shaq Brewster is following the race closely. He joins us now from Marquette University. in Milwaukee, and he's already got the winter attire on a little bit there, Shaq. Listen, it appears the momentum has shifted in this race. What are you expecting to hear in the debate tonight?
Yeah, well, sources on both campaigns, from both campaigns, are telling me that we can expect to see both of those two men engage directly a little bit more with this debate for a couple of different reasons. One, the format is a little bit different, so you can expect more direct questions between the two. But two, you mentioned the dynamics of this race have shifted drastically. That Marquette University poll showing that the lead that Mandela Barnes, the lieutenant governor, the Democrat, had a couple of months ago has completely been reversed. Ron Johnson now in the lead. What was the difference? You saw Republicans over the past couple of months emphasizing the issue of crime, alleging that Mandela Barnes wants to defund the police. That's something he denies. But I had a conversation with him a little bit about that strategy and his focus on abortion rather than the crime issue. Listen here.
When you're getting attacked by your opponents on the issue of crime and your focus is on abortion, are you leaving that as a vulnerability?
Well, the fact is, Ron Johnson is lying to try to distract from his own record. He can talk about crime all he wants, but the reality is he hasn't lifted a single finger to help communities who've been dealing with crime.
I think that's a little bit of a preview of what we can see and the messages that we can see once we get to the debate stage later tonight, Tom.
All right, Shaq, and Barnes and several Democratic Senate candidates in other states have been careful about associating themselves right now with outside figures, right? We're talking about the White House as it struggles with low approval ratings. So how does his campaign plan to navigate that in the coming weeks? They don't have much time.
Well, there was an interesting report that we saw from Politico earlier today that suggested that the Barnes campaign and other Wisconsin Democrats are calling for backup, essentially. Now, I reached out to the Barnes campaign, and they pushed back on that report. They only would say that they're not denying the idea that they extended an invitation to the former president, Barack Obama. So we could potentially see former President Obama here, but you're also going to see Democrats coming in because you mentioned it a little bit earlier. This is a race that people are watching from all across the country. Democrats see this as a key pickup opportunity if they want to have that path to the majority after the midterm election. So you're going to see those figures coming in, and that the importance of this race remains front and center for national Democrats.
All right, so I don't cover Wisconsin politics, and I got to say I was shocked to see, because Johnson was viewed as the most vulnerable Republican senator facing re-election next month. Yeah. So talk about the GOP strategy here that's really helped his campaign, and the fact that he's come on so strong. He's an election denier, among other issues, right?
Yeah, you know, the one thing that we saw, the big thing that we saw that really is potentially the reason why we saw the polls reverse is that focus on the issue of crime and inflation. Democrats were being outspent for much of the month of September on the television airwaves as Republicans and aligned groups blasted Democrats on those two issues. And that is the strategy. That is the messaging that Republicans and sources here in Wisconsin tell me they believe worked from them. Even today, there was a report that Mandela Barnes, back in 2015, that he had interviews with Russian television where he talked about the police and really disparaged, in the words of that report, the police. That was around the time of the Baltimore riots after the death of Freddie Gray. Those are the messages that Republicans here in the state are pushing, trying to paint Mandela Barnes as someone who is too radical for the state of Wisconsin. And that is something that you'll likely see on the debate stage as Mandela Barnes defends himself against some of those accusations.
Shaq Brewster never gets a day off. He's always on the job. Shaq, thanks, buddy. Really appreciate it. All right, coming up, this year's early flu surge has doctors worried about a twindemic. Our Miguel Almaguer talked to the CDC director, Rochelle Walensky, about that. So what you need to know about staying healthy over the next few months. Plus, what does this look like to you? Does it look like 400 grand? Because apparently it is. More on that in the local. We're back, and you know this. NBC covers hundreds of stories each day, and because you, nor I, could possibly read, watch, or listen to all of them, our bureau teams have done it for you and for me. So this is what they tell us is going down in their regions. It's a segment we call The Local. From our Southeast Bureau, look at this. Look closely. Officers with U.S. Customs and Border Protection say that they seized 44 pounds of liquid meth. They found it hidden inside 136 condoms that were inside 4 pumpkins. The SUV that they were in came from Mexico. The driver and the passenger were turned over to a local sheriff. Officers say the meth was worth $400,000. From our Midwest Bureau, a prosecutor in Ohio indicted 2 fishermen who were captured in that viral video that appeared to show them cheating in a tournament. They're charged with cheating and attempted grand theft. They were trying to win nearly $29,000, but a video showed their catch had weights stuffed inside. One of the men didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Can't blame him. The other could not be reached for comment. All right, from our West Coast Bureau, San Diego health officials are investigating a potential flu outbreak at a high school there. The school district says there's been hundreds of absences and they're not getting positive COVID test results back. A source told our station there that almost half the schools have been affected. It's too early to tell what is making people sick because test results are still pending. You know, we know flu cases overall are way up for this time of year, and overseas in the UK, COVID cases are rising. And that's sometimes an indication that the same thing will, in fact, happen here as well. So now some health officials are warning about the twindemic, a surge in flu and COVID cases, which could also overwhelm U.S. hospitals. Sounds familiar, right? NBC News correspondent Miguel Almaguer talked to the CDC director about the rapid and perhaps dangerous start to the flu season.
We've noted that flu activity is starting to increase across much of the country, with activity highest and increasing the most in the south and the south central parts of this country.
All right, Miguel is joining us now. And Miguel, despite the spike in flu cases, a new poll suggests fewer than half of Americans actually plan to get the flu vaccine, and fewer than 6% of eligible people have gotten an updated COVID booster shot. That kind of surprises me, but talk about the CDC's concern.
Well, Tom, the CDC is worried Americans just aren't getting vaccinated at a high enough rate for flu and COVID. You mentioned the low numbers for both. And as we approach winter, doctors are worried about that twindemic. That's the convergent and spike of both COVID and flu cases at the same time, which could overwhelm stressed hospitals. The CDC is now rolling out the start of its flu vaccine campaign. Today, the CDC director got her shot. It comes as the agency is also pushing Americans to keep up to date with their COVID boosters. I asked the CDC director if people are going to follow their guidance.
I think our data have demonstrated, and the science has demonstrated, that when people get vaccinated for flu as well as for COVID, we prevent severe disease, we prevent hospitalizations, and we prevent death.
The question now, Tom, are people going to get those shots?
Yeah, it sounds like just vaccine fatigue at this point. Now, I understand the CDC says it takes 2 weeks for the flu vaccine to kick in and give you the optimal protection. Now, fall is fast approaching. Should we all be, or it's actually here, I guess, should we be rushing out to get those flu shots now?
Well, the CDC says it's a great time to get vaccinated. Just like COVID shots, the flu vaccine, as you mentioned, takes about 2 weeks to fully kick in as more Americans begin to gather for events like Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and other holidays. It is a great time to be protected. So far, the CDC says about 12 million people have gotten their flu vaccine. That's on par with this time last year. The problem is the flu season is expected to be much worse than last year. That's the big reason behind the push to get folks vaccinated, Tom.
All right, so get your flu shot and your booster, and you can do it at the same time. All right, buddy, thank you.
That's
Miguel
right.
Almaguer out in Los Angeles. You can watch more of Miguel's reporting tonight on NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Still to come, a city that's been fighting a new development for years might be getting a huge housing complex anyways because of a paperwork problem. Could it be a preview of what the fight for more housing and more places is looking like? We're going to get into that coming up next. All right, now we want to bring you today's original with in-depth reporting on a topic we have, in fact, been keeping an eye on. With interest rates up, housing prices are beginning to soften, but home prices are still high compared to a year ago, creating the need for cheaper housing. Now, California's Redondo Beach community has been dragging its feet on meeting state low-income housing requirements. The owner of the former power plant in the city is now close to proceeding with the housing development on that huge site, complete with low-income units for qualified buyers. Jake Ward has that story.
Leo Postilnikov owns a very unusual piece of property in exclusive Redondo Beach, right on the water.
I want to keep the volume of the space, which, as you could see, is like 90 feet clear span.
It's a 49-acre power plant due for deactivation. It is huge. Postilnikov wants to turn it into 2,500 rental apartments, 500 of them affordable housing.
With 500,000 square feet of office, event space, a hotel, retail, shopping.
It's a whole neighborhood.
It's a whole neighborhood.
Thing is, he's been trying to get the green light for a while.
It's been in various stages for over 2 decades.
The city's mayor says the property is zoned for power or a park and that this development is dead on arrival. But he and the city have fought all this time. California is famous for the phrase, "not in my backyard," NIMBY for short.
The word NIMBY was invented in Redondo Beach, I believe.
Former Mayor Steve Aspel supported an earlier beachfront project also involving thousands of units, including affordable housing. And then these flyers went out.
You know, I don't want to throw my whole city under the bus. There's a majority of nice people.
Was there a racial component to it?
That's all. 100%.
In Redondo Beach, homes sell for an average of $1.3 million. The reason that converting this into housing is such a big deal is that California ranks 49th out of 50 states when it comes to housing units per capita. Now, the state is enforcing laws that require cities to make housing commitments or face penalties like losing the right to deny local building permits. So when Redondo Beach missed a deadline for filing its state-required housing plan, Postilnikov spotted a loophole.
That gave me an opportunity to submit under a builder's remedy.
Now, this city faces the very real prospect of all of this becoming housing and right in its yard.
In terms of parkland, we'd love to see at least half of it as parkland.
Councilmember Todd Lowenstein says his constituents oppose the development.
We are the second most populated city along the California coast.
Why shouldn't Redondo Beach and every city in California have to, by state law, build more housing?
Well, we're already full. Honestly, we have traffic issues. We have to keep up with our infrastructure like sewers and roads, police and fire.
He says that Redondo has now turned in its housing plan.
We've done a better job than pretty much any area around here.
And that state law, like this new development, just does not reflect macroeconomic reality.
If you're going to pick a place to have low to medium income housing, are you going to put it next to the ocean or are you going to put it inland?
Couldn't you argue that people who can afford that kind of housing should also be able to have a water view?
Well, everybody, I would have loved when I was 20 years old to have a water view, but as many people around here have worked their way up to being able to afford something like that. So, yes, everybody deserves a place to live. The question is, where do they deserve the place to live?
This city's reluctance to build new housing may ironically be the very thing that forces this project through. And with a lack of affordable housing across the nation, the fight over this project could be a preview of a fight in every town in the years to come.
All right, Jake Ward joins us now. Boy, I mean, that comment from him, you should only be able to have a view of the ocean if you can afford it, if you make enough money to have moved up the food chain. Now, you said this fight could be a preview for fights to come across the country, right? Why is that?
Well, we're seeing already, Tom, that fight is expanding beyond Redondo Beach. That builder's remedy that Leon Postilnikov is using to possibly push this through is beginning to be used all across the state. We're seeing municipalities from Santa Monica all the way up here to Northern California, where I am, using this new, basically, it's an old law. It's been around since the 90s, but only recently has California begun really enforcing this idea that if you don't set aside a plan for housing in your California community, then you suddenly lose the right, essentially, to fight back against new developments. This builder's remedy that Postilnikov and others are using now has more than 3,000 possible units coming online, potentially in Santa Monica alone. So I think we're going to see it all across the country because you have to remember, Tom, we're short about 7 million units of affordable housing in this country. You know, very, very few people can afford the rent on a real place to live on a really a low-income salary. And so at this point, we're going to see this kind of fight, I think, coming up again and again.
It does look like a beautiful area, just from the aerials or from your shoot there. Is this fight for affordable housing in Redondo Beach going to be resolved anytime soon, or will it be dragged out through the courts?
It will undoubtedly involve the courts. Redondo Beach says that they are now in compliance and that Postilnikov can't go through with this, so they'll fight this tooth and nail, no question. I think to your point, though, the reason that we thought this was so interesting is it is such a picturesque Southern California community right on the water, as you say, and the fact that this community, which is famous for being hostile to new housing development, may actually have a new 50-acre place go in right on the beach with hundreds of units of affordable housing. It's a very big deal, and I think we're going to see this story repeated repeated across California and eventually across the country, Tom.
But your question was so poignant. Don't low-income people have a right to look at the ocean, too? And he essentially said, well, they should start out inland and then work their way up, and then they can get the view.
It's a very different perspective on all of it, right? This idea that we do have to rise up, or should the state come in and guarantee housing to everybody and mix us all together, right? That is the fundamental fight we're about to have in cities across the country, Tom.
Jake, thank you. Jake Ward, as always, on the beat out there in California. That is a wrap for this hour of News Now. We're going to have more for you right here tomorrow, same time, same place. Our coverage resumes, and the news resumes right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.